next day, and I found something I wanted to talk about. Let me get my gloves on before I, ow, ouch, 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 ouch. Let me get my gloves on before I do. And, oh, I found something I want to talk about. Yes, I did. Let me get my gloves on. Okay. Probably ought to get off the street. Okay, so last night, after work, before I go to bed, I was checking YouTube and different channels for interesting videos. And I was flipping through the shorts, and this one guy made a short on, he says, the restaurateur's perspective on why a BLT sandwich costs like $14 or $15 in today's market. And I get exactly what he's trying to say, but my point is, well, number one, that's exactly why no one's going to any restaurants anymore. It's just so ridiculous, so outrageous to eat out. Not to mention the health benefits of preparing your own food. You know, the price of eggs, everything's more expensive. And this guy's explaining why I've got to sell, I think he said, in a day he has to sell 186 sandwiches before he breaks even, or something to that effect, at that price, like $15 for a BLT. And that's exactly why we never, occasionally we'll go out and get something, but something simple. But it all, in my opinion, this all boils down to bad politics. When your government keeps printing money or pressing the button that creates more dollars electronically, it's obvious that every dollar in circulation, the value goes down. So it's the invisible tax. Inflation is the invisible tax, and it's bad policy, bad politics. And I won't even talk about which party is the most to blame for it, but I imagine there's plenty of blame on both sides of the aisle. But plus, we want to, get involved in all these conflicts around the world and save democracy, and we keep sending money to these countries that, we're going to save them, as one of our senators in Utah said. Totally disagree. We'll fight our enemies in this proxy war by funding this war over in where, and we'll funding this war that they will never win. But by doing so, we're going to bankrupt our real enemy. Oh, geez. So we keep sending money to this comedian gone politician, and we just keep funneling the billions and billions of dollars. The value of our dollars go down around the world. I mean, in the world, and so much so that the U.S. dollar is being threatened to become the currency that all currencies are pegged against. Is going to change. And so anyways, I was talking to my son-in-law about this, and I said, maybe everything can't be blamed on this, but if value of the dollar just keeps going down and down and down. Wages don't keep up with it. You know, it's going to be the end of our country if we don't start voting in some new politicians that understand this, understand the Constitution, and understand money policy, preferably a businessman. You probably all know who I think the man for the job is. But yeah, when we bought our first house in Columbus, Ohio, it was roughly 3 times my modest salary to buy the house. Kids of today have got to pay, I don't know, at least 5, maybe 10 times their salary, and you can't keep this up forever. No one, our kids, our adult children can't afford housing. No one can afford to go to a restaurant. Our cities are not enforcing crime. I love Ron DeSantis' poop map that he brought out in the debate against the guy in California, San Francisco, the governor of California, Nancy Pelosi's nephew. And people think we can spend without limit, and the government owes us everything, and the government owes us a free education, and the government owes us a housing, the government owes us... Okay, the government doesn't create a thing. The government doesn't create wealth, it destroys wealth. Okay? Human ingenuity and the entrepreneur spirit can create wealth out of thin air, you know. Like they say, you take a block of, remember that old story where this kid says, you take a block of iron, and it may, I don't know, cost a few dollars, and you create, from it you create a zillion pins, and those pins can be sold for maybe 10 times the value or something like that. But anyways, you see my point. Or a good idea. You know, like eBay or Twitter or now X, or become a gold mine when you've got a good idea. So anyways, my thoughts are just that we've got to wake up. We've got to realize there's a consequence to our bad politics, and among other things, among the psychological and spiritual damages that are done by bad politics and wokeness, and our kids don't know who they are. They think they can be anything they want. There's 55 genders. We've lost our collective mind, and somehow we have to get it back, and hopefully save our country before we lose our country. You know, to not have a border is to not have a country. Can you imagine not controlling your border? I was watching, who was it? Megyn Kelly, I think. She's talking about the history of Ellis Island, when our parents and grandparents, I should say grandparents, and those before all migrated to this country. Yeah, we welcomed them, but they all went to Ellis Island. They were vetted and documented, processed, and we knew who was coming into the country. Now we don't have a border. We don't know who's coming into the country, and it's driving down the wages of American jobs, and it's just all the way around. Bad politics. It's costing us, and we're about to lose our country because of it. So I don't like to talk too much politics because I lose more friends than I gain, but this is just such a no-brainer. A no-brainer. So let's see, it's 11 minutes. That's my deep thoughts for today. My pro tip for today, deep thoughts for the day. And yeah, on a BLT is costing $15, or a restaurant has to. It's so strange. Oh, that's also what I wanted to say. In Japan, and people are not gonna like this probably. There's so much to like in Japan. There's some things not to like, but I tell you, people. This guy on YouTube is saying, "I've got I'm paying $20,000 in rent, blah blah blah." I don't know how they do it in Japan, but of course they have tons of people, and all these eateries, restaurants can provide great food, fabulous food, in a thimble of a restaurant. You have to have a shoehorn to get your customers in there, but for a reasonable price, they'll offer the greatest food. I think it's the best food in the world and the cheapest food in the world. Yes, you can go to high-end restaurants in Japan and pay ridiculous amounts, and you can buy high-end crazy fruit. It's ridiculously expensive, in yens or whatever, that's boxed in these fancy gift packs, and you can spend a lot of money that way. But people in Japan are able to do this in such a small little place. Little restaurants that seat maybe 6 people or something like that, and there's the line out the door. They're serving up the best ramen in the world. 6 seats. People suck it down and get out the door. The next guy's in there and he's paying his $5-6 to get the next bowl. They make it work. And the rent, I don't know. You see the employees, they're crawling over each other in the kitchen and enjoying it. There's energy. There's liveliness. There's hey, everybody's saying, come here, come on in, everybody come in here. And there's a line out the door, 30 minutes long to get into this great ramen. It's run by the owner who takes pride in his work, and he's serving up the best ramen in town. I mean, this is not a rare occurrence. This happens all over Japan. It's so what's the word? Refreshing and restores your faith in the human ingenuity, and it's so fabulous. So, you know, in the U.S., you know, you pretty much, if you want to eat good food, you pretty much have to learn to cook it yourself. And you can do that on YouTube for free. Learn any other. My daughter makes the best Korean dishes, right? And she learned on YouTube. Or Italian dishes, or this great food that you can cook yourself. But if you can't or are not willing to cook yourself, man, you're kind of screwed here in the United States, because you're not going to be able to afford to eat out very often at a nice restaurant. So, anyways, that's my deep thoughts, and I'd love to hear your opinions on that. And I'll sign off. Thank you. Bye-bye.